the photographic language has separated itself from the medium, which is kind of sad for photography because the future of photography is now defined by AI.
Velkommen, kjære ørevenner. Velkommen alle seerne der ute. I dag skal vi prøve noe litt nytt. Vi har en gjest som ikke er her. Altså, han er her, men han er ikke fysisk her. Han er på nett, og han er ikke i Norge engang, og han snakker heller ikke norsk. Vi har fått besøk av Boris Eldagsen fra Tyskland. Han er en fotograf som i senere tid har jobbet mye med AI, altså KI-genererte bilder, og sendte inn noen av disse til noen fotokonkurranser. Der vant han i Sony World Photography Awards i år, med et bilde han da ikke egentlig har tatt selv. Dette informerte han om i etterkant da han hadde vunnet, og det ble en del interessante resultater av det. Og det hadde jeg tenkt å snakke med han om i dag. So, welcome Boris to our podcast. I'm very, very thankful that you could be here with us.
Well, I have to thank you. You have been the first to invite me.
Oh, wow. Can you tell us a little bit about what happened with the Sony Photography Awards, the background for it, what you did, what the results were? Because this is turning into quite an interesting story.
Yeah, I think to understand the background information, it might be good to tell a little bit about myself.
Yes, please do.
I'm an artist. I studied fine arts and philosophy. I've been working with photography for over 30 years. In Germany, I'm quite active in Deutsche Fotografische Akademie, which is the oldest German association of photographers that use photography as an artistic medium. So we meet twice a year for conferences, and for 2.5 years we do online talks like this, often on a weekly basis, and this is what I do for them. So I'm very well connected to the German scene. Throughout the year, last year, I became like the person to ask and to listen to regarding AI. I did one presentation at a conference that was recorded, and it kind of most people saw in Germany that are related to photography. So making this test can be understood out of that background. Yeah, I saw what was happening. I had an idea of the consequences to come. And I just wanted to find out in autumn if competitions are prepared. And I made a test, and I used one and the same image, and I used one and the same image and applied for 3 different competitions. The first 2 had been black and white, and the last one was Sony, and I became finalist in all of them.
And all 3 of them did not have any indication that AI-generated images was not allowed?
Didn't know before, and now I got selected as a finalist. So I did this with a hacker attitude, trying to test the system, not to exploit it, but then to find out the weak spots and to say, well, there's something you need to change about it. So I applied just with the image and the title. Later, they asked for the page and exhibition history, and I gave it to them, and I have no clue if they checked it or not. If you do, you can find out easily that I've been doing AI only since early last summer. And early March, they approached me and said, congratulations, you are the winner. And I was not expecting that. Yeah, totally. So I sent them back an email the next day stating clearly, it's very important that you are aware it's AI generated. This is how it was produced. And you have 2 options now, either just disqualify me and give the award to someone else, which would have been fine, or to say, okay, this is the future. We would like to stick to you. But, and this I said from the very first beginning, then it's very important to have an open discussion about it, because there are many questions that will be raised. And the reply I got was very short. Yeah, you will remain the winner. We would be happy if you come to the award ceremony. That's it. So at that time, early March, I had no clue. Are they going to communicate it or not? How are they going to communicate it? And when they sent out the press release early on 14th of March, there was no additional information. It was just like the name and the title, like one of 10 images, and that's it. But immediately, early in the morning, I was contacted by the Polish photo platform asking me, is it AI generated, yeah, or not? Can you give us a statement? And I said, yes, it is, and I will give you a statement. So I was drafting up that first statement, send it to the Polish platform. And yeah, shortly after, I got contacted by Creo, which is the organizer of the awards. I think what you have to take in account if you talk about Sony Awards, it's not Sony organizing it. Yeah, it's an event agency based in London called Creo, and they do a couple of awards and award ceremonies. So it's their business, and Sony gives the name and the prices and uses it as a marketing tool. So the PR executive of Creo contacted me and said, listen, Boris, we get so many inquiries regarding your image. Can you give us more information? And I could, because the statement was written an hour before. I sent it to him and I said, I'm a bit surprised. Yeah, I had this conversation with an assistant of Creo 2 weeks before. Didn't you know it was AI generated? Yeah, was expected. And here's my statement to use. And I really recommend that you should use this as a chance for an open debate. So hours later in the evening, I got a short reply with a smiley and thank you. So I could have thought that they had used my statement. There was no response to my second suggestion of having an open discussion. There was no response to my question if they had not been communicating in their team. Just a smiley and thank you. But they underestimated that I'm well connected to the German scene, and they know me and they know that the work is AI generated. And they asked clearly, yeah, in sending an email, can you tell us about this work? Is it AI generated or not? And the response they got was like a bad politician's blah, blah. It was like saying, dear Thomas, thank you for your email. To quote our CEO, then we support photography. It's dynamic and all expressions, blah, thank you. It was saying all and nothing, and AI was not even mentioned. Yeah? I was very disappointed that they did so. And the question, is it AI or not, was not settled. So people came to my account, and it's very easy to see it's AI. It's an image that I created early September 2020. It was already posted and indicated as being AI generated. They asked me, what's happening here? What are you doing? Yeah, and I said, it is AI generated. I told the organization, and I also believe it's wrong, that they don't take a clear position on it. And I asked to those photographers, there were many from Italy, said, please ask them yourselves. Maybe you get a response. They didn't. So a week later, they contacted me asking can we use that image for a wine and dine magazine in South Africa? I said, yes, you can do so, but what is more important is to talk about all the messages you get and I get and the inquiries about the nature of that image. Yeah, and it's pressuring questions that need to be approached, and I really urge you to do it. And I was asking, why didn't you use my statement? In their response, again, no reply to my question like before, didn't tell me why they didn't use my statement, but they said, yes, good questions. But well, we have a Q&A on our webpage that we can offer to you. Would you be willing to do it? And we can publish it before the award ceremony in April. And I said, yes. And I was waiting. Next day, the editor contacted me and said, well, thanks, I'm going to send you the question soon. And I said, yes, thanks, I'm waiting for it. And nothing happened. And before Easter, she said, haven't forgotten, so much work, and Easter, still try, and nothing happened. So it was like me waiting for over 20 days for them to keep their promises. So it's a bit ridiculous that they now state in their press release that they were willing to do a Q&A with me, but I wasn't. I had to pressure them, like only after the third time and after they got inquiries after the press release, they saw that it might be a good idea. And that was leading to the point that I thought, well, it's not what they are interested. Yeah, I'm not interested in winning any prize. I'm interested in debating if it's a good idea to have AI-generated images in photo competitions. And I think you should not mix it up. I think AI-generated images are not photography. I think you should have a category for itself. And if it's good to put them in the same basket, I don't know. But we need to find out. I love AI-generated images. I do it for a year now on a daily basis. I love photography. I've been doing it for 30 years. But I know that the photo world was kind of frozen in shock, yeah, throughout the last months, yeah, like a little rabbit looking at the big bad wolf, not knowing what to do. And then when you look into Instagram and you see like people using hashtags like AI photo, AI photography. Yeah? So you have photographers first, like they see that jobs are going to be taken away by AI. They are afraid to maintain their living. And now you have teenagers that take away the term photography and call themselves photographers because they can create images that look the same. And I think that's wrong on so many levels. But because they didn't want to address it, I had to do something that cannot be dismissed anymore, like all the questions I asked them before.
And you refused to accept the prize. So
yes,
did you show up at the ceremony and held a speech?
I showed up. So what you need to know is that because it's a business, they told me up front, yeah, it would be nice if you come to London, but we can't pay for you. They only pay for the professional winners, not for the open competition. So I paid 350 for my flight. I paid 150 for the hotel nearby at Hyde Park. It was totally overpriced, and I paid 200 to rent a tuxedo because it was dress code, black tie, so you have to come up like this. And it wasn't that easy to find something in my size. Yeah, I'm 1.90 m. and I have to thank like the shop that rents out tuxedos in Berlin-Schöneberg and is specialized in gay weddings. They had been the best. Yeah, they had all the stuff I needed, and I was too plumpy to fit in the trousers. They even made it wider in 4 days. Yeah. And then I just was flying to London with an easy ticket, hand luggage. I was basically wearing the tuxedo all time around. And went there, and I prepared that little speech, the statement on my webpage, and learned it by heart in the plane, and went to the event in the evening and realized how commercial it actually was. Yeah, you have an invitation in this fancy Hilton at the park, Hyde Park, and they invite you for open doors and drinks at 6 p.m. And then you come there, there are 2 bars, and then you realize you have to pay for your drinks yourself. And I was allowed to bring a guest. So I brought a curator friend, and they had a dinner break, and they said, yeah, it's okay, bring a friend. Yeah. And after dinner, they gave him like a 46-pound bill, which is like 60 euros for a bottle of wine. So you see the commercial side of all of it, yeah. And it started with the awards for the students and the schools, and then the open competition. And I expected to have time on stage for my statement, but I hadn't. Never been there before. And they only asked the overall winner of all open categories to come and get the award, which was a photo of birds. And so, yeah, I was kind of, taken off guard. I didn't know what to do. I was saved by the dinner break. I was talking to my British friend. I said, what can I do now? And he said, I'll forget about it. And then a friend from the German press said, just go there and get the microphone. Yeah. And then I was calling my girlfriend and I said, what am I doing now? And she said, well, go and get the microphone. What you have to be aware of here is when I was a student, I was quite shy. Yeah. When I was in the pub and I didn't know what time it was, I would never ask somebody there for the time. I would leave the pub, look for the next clock and the next church to see the time, and then get back in. So sitting there in that dinner break was like a hardcore psychotherapy for me. It was like the younger, shyer person saying, no, you can't do that. Yeah. And then the older person saying, well, anything else I've tried didn't work, so I need to do something. And when they started after the dinner break and wanted to continue, immediately when the host went on stage on the microphone, that was a BBC presenter, I came from the side. Yeah. And I said, excuse me, I was selected as a winner for the open competition, and I would like to say something, may I? And again, she was surprised and didn't know what to do. And you have to ask the organizers. And then a lady from the organizers came. And then I thought, it's now or never. Yeah. So I said my little speech, which was, I think, less than a minute. Yeah. And the two ladies were standing next to me and asked me to leave the stage because it was not okay to do something that wasn't planned. And I politely finished my speech and thanked the people for listening, and then went back to my place and sat down. And they continued like the show must go on. I stayed there until the end. I stayed even like 13 minutes after the show on stage was done, and nothing happened. Yeah, nobody came and asked, yeah, what did you do? Why did you do it? What's the problem? How can we solve it? It was like I was not existing. Yeah, there was one person, a young photographer, that also got an award. He asked me about it. He was the only person. Everything else in the room, all the people in fancy dresses, yeah, didn't want to come and talk to me, but maybe, I don't know, maybe they thought he's mad, he's 190 tall. Not our problem. Yeah, and then I went back to the expensive hotel in that small room. And yeah, it looks very fancy from the outside, but inside the rooms, it's like Paris, it's facade.
Yeah. So basically, the ceremony was just a ceremony. That was to celebrate themselves and
that's a PR tool, and it was for the Japanese guests. Yeah.
But since that, things have happened. You have been removed as a winner, but with no statements about it still, or?
At the evening when I returned to the hotel, it was like, I don't know, 11 p.m. I sent the organizers the statement, so they have it in written form. And they told me before, you give us your address and we send you the price. I never knew what the price was going to be. It was announced, it was like a $5,000 year. What kind of camera, I don't know. Yeah. So I said, don't send it to me. Yeah, if you have a spare one, please donate it to the Odessa Festival in Ukraine. I can put you in contact and they could use it for good. And never heard from them since. Yeah, they never thought it would be necessary to reply. What I realized the next morning is that my 2 posts on Instagram and Facebook went viral, yeah, more and more. And then it was taken up by a platform in South America because they woke up when I went to bed. And then I saw that they were stating that I had been removed from the webpage. So I checked it and yeah, I was gone. I was non-existing. But they had this exhibition opening, yeah, at Somerset House, London, which was very prestigious. They also have the photo fair at Somerset House. So I thought, well, I check out of the hotel and then I walk there to check it out because I knew my image was hanging on the wall a day before during the press walk. And my friends from the German press sent me images. So I thought, let's wait and see. And I think that's when we were chatting on social media. I was on my way. And then I kind of smuggled my way into the exhibition. I had no ticket. You needed to book. And I said, I know I have no ticket, but I was selected for that award. And you see, I'm still wearing the tuxedo. Here's my invitation from last night. May I enter? And so they let me in. And I was looking for my image to find, and I didn't see it. And then my German friends from the press came, and they could lead me to the place where it was removed. And instead, there was a different picture. So they rearranged the whole thing. It was kind of funny then to make a picture of me standing and pointing to a new image where my friends had taken a picture before with somebody else standing there and pointing to the same image. And you can see there on the left side, there's a chimney with an identical picture on both photos. So they also introduced me to a German representative of Sony. So I could talk to her, and she was very embarrassed, yeah, to hear the whole story, yeah, and also thought that's very unprofessionally. But since I have heard nothing ever from the organizers. Oh.
So Sony World Photography Awards is not interested in dealing with this whatsoever. But there must be interest for this. I mean, I've seen you have posted media reports from other places in the world and other medias on your webpage and on Facebook. So you get some coverage and something is happening here, isn't it?
It's not some coverage. It's crazy. Yeah, and I can't put all of things on my webpage anymore. Since you and I have chatted, there was a weekend with some interest, and it really started to kick off on Monday. The platforms that had interest over the weekend were platforms I have been spoken to before or have been knowing. And what I could see is that the community picked it up. All of this was only possible because the community wanted to talk about it. The community said, finally, somebody is stating AI is not photography. And I realized in my conversations on Facebook in the weeks before, that I had a chance to speak for the majority of the photo world, that this mess of terminology needs to be cleaned up and that we need to enter a discussion. So I just did. I found myself in that pole position by chance. And I thought, well, if I'm here now, I'm going to use it. But what happened over the weekend was basically grassroots. I had a Chinese photographer approaching me saying, I translated one of your interviews into my language, and the next day he came and said 50,000 views, and the next day it was, by a press inquiry by Beijing News, and that happened on all continents. And I also got a message from a deputy director of a British photo museum that I have not known before, thanking me for speaking up. And she said, we are only talking about this for the last 2 days. Yeah, so you get an idea of how far it travels if you look at your own post and you see, wow, it has been shared 800 times, but all the shares of the others, I'm not aware of. And then on Monday, it started with BBC picking it up. I had journalists from Guardian and from the Times talking to me, and that made it international. And since I have been talking to 30 media representatives a day or longer or 50, I have to go through my list. Yeah, I'm multitasking now. Like you have, for 2 to 3 days, I got a press inquiry every 15 minutes. Yeah,
I'm honored that you still have time for us.
Yeah, you're the first, of course. I stand to that. No, it came from all sides. Yeah, from webpage, from Instagram, Facebook, WhatsApp, LinkedIn, and many messages privately. And I would have never imagined that I end up live in BBC. Yeah, I was live yesterday on CNN in Spanish. I had an interview live with Al Jazeera. Yeah, and these are just platforms I would have never thought to. The Guardian printed my image on first page. The Times did on page number 3. Yeah, I had interviews with major newspapers all around the globe, with radio stations and with TV stations. It's like everywhere. Friends of mine sent me messages with screenshots of me in some, I don't know, Australian breakfast TV, or telling me, I've heard you on NPR. And I have no clue how big NPR is. I know I did a very interesting radio conversation with an American radio station. How many people they reach, I don't know. Yeah, sometimes Al Jazeera sends you an email and say, oh, we reach 800 millions. And I think, can't get my head around this. Yeah, so I just continued like a machine, because that talk like you and I are doing right now is something that is familiar with me. And if you are Thomas from Norway, or if you are
Eric from
BBC
Norway.
World News, I don't think about that moment.
But when I chatted with you, when this had just happened, you feel a bit, or I sensed that you were a bit discouraged, and I asked, what more could you do now? And you said there was nothing more you could do, and then suddenly everything explodes.
I think my part was done, and then the community took it further. And then I saw there's still something that I can do, is to talk to all the people that approach me, and to make them aware of the situation. My hope is that in the first step, we are cleaning up that mess in terminology. There are many proposals around how to call AI-generated images.
Yes, you had a suggestion on your webpage the other day.
I had a suggestion. I know also other suggestions. My favorite right now, and the best that I can imagine, is promptography from prompt. Because working with prompts, with text prompt, is such a new way of creating images. Of course, we get more and more options on a weekly basis, and you can also create images not using text, but other images. But I think that prompt is central. I can have a text prompt, I can have an image prompt. I create images with prompts. And soon we will not only create images with prompts, we can create sounds, we can create moving image, we can create objects and print them. But it relates to the prompt. So I think that would be a terminology that encompasses all of that. Also that the images that I produce don't look like photography, but like drawing, painting, etc. Most suggestions I found in the photo community are too photocentric. Yeah. And once we have found, or once a certain term has become dominant, and I'm working to promote photography, it was suggested by a photographer from Peru to me. And I said, how did you come up with that? And he said, it was just popped up reading one of your interviews. And I'm using it since, and I'm promoting it. And other people told me it has been around, but not picked up that largely. And to all the media representatives I talked to, I suggested. So maybe that's a solution. And then we have to talk about the relationship between the two. Yeah, I'm not against one in favor of one or two. I love both. I know the problems, implications with AI-generated images, legally, ethically. I support to solve this, but I still like working with it. It's an amazing artistic tool that I have always been waiting for without knowing. And the photographic language has separated itself from the medium. Yeah, it's something in itself. It's free floating, which is kind of sad for photography because the future of photography is now defined by AI.
Yes, because in a year from now, we won't be able to discern AI-generated image from a photography, will we?
I think it will happen until the end of the year. Yeah. But again, we have to decide how was it produced. Yeah. And as somebody said also in a comment, yeah, you can have a warm dish, but it makes a difference if you have put it in the oven or in the microwave. It's still a warm dish. And he's right. Yeah.
But will an AI-generated image be art in the traditional sense of art, or will it be plagiarism, or will it be... How do we define this when all the images are just taken from existing images and made into something new?
It's not taped. Let's go back to the basics and my basic understanding of AI and why I love it from an artistic and philosophical perspective. And then we can talk about is it art or how much is my creative part in that co-creation. It's not copying anything. Yeah, it's not a collage, and that is also a legal case, but I'm very positive it's going to decide that it's not a collage. For those who are not familiar with old Greek philosophy and Plato's theory of ideas, he proposed, he said, if you look at all the tables we have, they come in different shapes, out of different material, 1 leg, 2 legs, 3 legs, but and this is all passing and fleeting. But there is something timeless. There is an idea of a table. And that would be basically, we have something that is flat. We can put stuff on it. We can work on it. And we need something below that holds it. Yeah, 1 leg, 2 legs, more legs. I don't know. And this is the idea of a table. And through the training, the AI managed to understand those ideas. Yeah. And through my prompts, I can now generate a certain, one of the many options to have a table, but it has understood the timeless idea. Yeah. And the rest creates with me just,
so
manually guiding it.
Can you get an image in your head and write a prompt that generates that image to your satisfaction? So with your creative elements in it?
Yes. Yeah. And you have such a broad range to work with those AI generators. Did you do it yourself? Have you practiced?
A little bit only.
Yeah. Well, you have the easy option with DALL-E 2. Yeah. It was not updated since August. It's very simple to use. It's ease of use. And then you have the manual control on the open source Stable Diffusion side. And in between, you find Midjourney. So that makes a difference how many technical parameters you can choose. And the other part is the text prompt. And that can be quite complex. Most people don't. Yeah, you can type it, I want to have a photo of a pizza, and you will get 4 photos of a pizza, all different. And the pizza, it's a photo, it could be fine. Done. Yeah. But there are so many parameters you can define. Yeah. In my perspective right now, it's 11. You can say not just a photo, but what kind of photo. Yeah, this is the Polaroid. Yeah, is it a photocopy? Is it a daguerreotypie? And you can also define the camera, the shutter speed, the lens, and so on. But there is much more. Yeah, you can say, I want a pizza. I want to have a certain pizza, Diavolo. And then there's an emotional quality. It should look yummy, or it should look disgusting because it's a week old and it's lying on the floor and it's wet, or it's burnt. And then, what is my perspective? Yeah, do I look down? Do I look up and somebody's bringing it? Is there a perspective, a foreground, middle ground, background, or is it just flat? What about the light? What about the colors? What about the technical quality? The image is rendered in mostly 1024 pixels, but it could look like it's 4K. It could look like it's rendered by engine of a computer game. Yeah, it could look like something else. And then, of course, you have genres. Makes a difference if I have a picture of a pizza which is advertising, yeah, or it has been taken on a crime scene, or it's documentary and it's lying wet on the floor at the train station. And then you have references. Most people talk about styles, but I think there's much more to it. Of course, you can refer to single artists, photographers, but you can also refer to decades. Such an image looks different if it's taken now or in the 80s. Yeah? And it looks different if it comes out of a certain school or from a certain platform or has been printed in a certain magazine. Yeah, if I say this is like a cover photo from Vogue, the pizza would possibly be like a dress. Yeah, so this you can use, and then you just start, you try out, you change, you fine tune, you combine, and that is the second level of leaving the simple prompts. And the prompts all differ from platform to platform. Yeah, something that works on one platform doesn't on the other. But you can become very creative in doing so. And this is what I love. Most people don't. Yeah. So platforms often suggest like DALL-E 2, you have an American football player like painted from Van Gogh. I'm not interested in American football. I would use pizza painted by Van Gogh. And then I would go one step further and I would say, what about a pizza photographed by Van Gogh? I don't know of any photographs that he did. But let's see, the machine needs to deliver any kind of result. And I'm just surprising the machine and testing its boundaries. And you can go one step further and ask, give me a portrait, a photo portrait of Van Gogh shot by a pizza. What then? Yeah. And I did many of those experiments. I just love it because you always get a result. And sometimes it is totally unpredictable. But it can lead to something like a recipe, like a Coca-Cola formula, that if you work with Midjourney or Stable Diffusion, have manual parameters, you can just repeat over and over again. And that is like the top level. Like one example, I did one series of works that had many references to the 60s and was driving, having a train ride in December using my smartphone. And my fingers, I don't know, this is too small for my fingers and my hands. So I had a typo in one of the words. That is the length of the prompt. And this is one word. And I just mistake an A and an I. And suddenly I get a very crazy, strange aesthetic. It's this ambiphilia where you have, it's very plastic. At the same time, it's really fleshy, pornographic, and it looks like candy and sweet and then disgusting at the same time. So it's this ambivalence that you are attracted and pushed back at the same time. And to create something like this, I would only be able with a huge team of like movie FX specialists. Yeah. And once you have discovered something like this, it's a treasure. Yeah. But it takes some time to fine tune and experiments. So the deeper you get in, the more you can use it like you can play around with it. You can say, okay, I'm very good at 3-4 platforms. Each of those platforms has a certain advantage. And then I just go there and use this advantage when I need to. Like if you talk about stable diffusion, it's not safe for work until 1.5. So I can easily just use an image of me and have me generated nude riding on a dolphin. Yeah, that would be easy in stable diffusion, but very problematic if the other platforms. So, but I want to have more to it. There should be water around the dolphin and something in the background. And I like outpainting with DALL-E 2. So I take the stable diffusion generated image to DALL-E 2. I upload it, which is no problem uploading. And then you want to do outpainting. That means you generate additional frames and continue. So to generate additional frames, you always have a certain overlapping to the initial image because the AI needs to know what kind of visual language they should expand. So what I do is I upload me nude on a dolphin, and the reference frame that I use is never showing me. It always shows the dolphin and I'm left out as that blind spot. And DALL-E 2 is perfectly working for me and does what I want. If they would know that I'm there nude on a dolphin, they would kick me out like they did 3 times. and then you see that it becomes some kind of virtuosity. And the longer I do it, the more I love it. Yeah.
Will the censorship of these engines limit you, since they won't let you generate your nude? No. Actually, they were a good training. The first work I did on DALL-E 2 when I still was beta tester and it was closed was playing around with the censorship. And I had a personal challenge. I said I would like to generate images that the platform refuses for in-painting, outpainting. But it has produced an image just because I am leading it with text. It has produced an image itself that it actually doesn't want to have on the platform. Yeah, so it's a little bit like the Jungian idea of the shadow, which is a side of yourself you are not aware of, yeah, you dislike, and you project it on others. And I learned a lot about workarounds. Yeah, it's like Sudoku. It's a challenge. Okay, I can't type in nude, so what do I do? Yeah, one thing I did first was I went over and created albinos. Albinos in bathers, in swimming gear that is white, and do mud wrestling. And suddenly you have nudity all around. That was easy. Mid-journey, you can also play around and say, okay, I want a photograph of a classic Renaissance painting, and then you refer to Leda and the Swan, to Hercules, yeah, to pagan fertility goddesses, and you get it all. It's just using your knowledge and playing around. And this is what I love about AI. You don't work with matter anymore. You work with immaterial knowledge and experience. And all the different aspects of a prompt I told you before, most of them, 8 out of 11, have a direct connection to your knowledge. If you are a photographer, if you are an artist, if you know about all those things, technology, history, composition, you can make much better prompts
than somebody who is just 15. Yeah, they will do superheroes or anime or whatever. And it depends on the person using it. So for me, AI is an accelerator of knowledge. AI is augmented intelligence that uses what I already bring and helps me to get a bit further.
But for art, this is brilliant. But if you go to documentary, this sounds fatal to me.
It is fatal. And as an artist, I love AI. And as a citizen of a democracy, I'm totally frightened. And I can differ between the two. And I already helped the German Association of Photojournalists with their position paper, freelance. There's still a talk of mine online. It's in German on YouTube, but I think with YouTube you can generate automatic subtitles. And I used material from World Photo Awards to show what's possible today in manipulation and disinformation. And photojournalists are under attack from many different sides. So first, the Trump's getting arrested and the Pope's in Balenciaga will be so much. Yeah. And how can we differ between them and the authentic images that are that many or that few? It's very important that the media, especially the news media, need to come up with a system. I would love this to be European-wide minimum. And the system that Freelance is suggesting to have an A for authentic and a G for generated. You could have also something in between. Which
but
is M for
still you need some way of verifying that, because I could generate an image and say that it's a photography.
Yes, second step, how do we verify it? I had a discussion with a picture editor of a big, like from Spiegel Verlag in Germany, is one of the largest. And he said, I'm doing it for 10 years. The work gets more and more. And it is a lot of research. From all the interviews I have done, there was just like Reuters as a news agency checking a portrait, me standing next to a wallpaper of my image, if that was real or not. So I provided the location. It's a city gallery in Berlin. It was the finissage in March. You can see that it happened on the webpage of the gallery. You can see installation shots. I provided the link to the photographer that also said it was his photo, and then they could use it. Who is going to pay for it? Yeah, who is going to pay all that additional staff they need? Who is paying for all the technology that could help? It could also be AI. They can't, yeah, and especially the print media. Yeah, they struggle anyhow. So either we say, well,
can we make an AI that can verify it?
And AI right now, what we have can give you a percentage. Like it already was applied to Trump and the Pope, and then you get a percentage. This might be 56% authentic or 76% fake. You still need somebody who tries to find different sources.
And that is also the problem with the authentic or generated classification, because what is actually authentic? When is an image not authentic anymore?
Well, there are technical solutions for it. There are going to be more, and then you can relate back to the World Best Photo Award. But I would like to just continue my idea.
Yeah, please do.
Okay, we need more people. We need more technology to support the press. They can't do it themselves. They don't have the money. So the challenge is, as democratic citizens, as democratic states, to come up with a co-funding. But it's tricky, yeah, because the press is very important to be free in democracies. How can we maintain the freedom of press? By co-funding it, yeah. But I think this is the only way to do, because otherwise it's just battle lost, yeah. And then there is a third problem for photojournalists, and talking with them one-to-one, you realize the jobs are not well paid. Yeah, I'm doing those conversations for the German Photographic Academy for 2 years now, and I had a conversation with photojournalists, and they were photographing like the German chancellor and all the famous people. And I said, hey, what do you get for a portrait of the German chancellor on Spiegel cover, which is like one of the top-level magazines, yeah, in Germany? And I said, €600. And I said, what? Yeah. So if you're really serious with photojournalism, you need to have a second job as a photographer and do commercial jobs. And now those commercial jobs are taken away by AI. So not only the professional photographers have a problem in paying their rent, but also the photojournalists. Yeah, it's complex. I kind of see more than others because of that work I do in Germany and also in Deutscher Fotorat. Have you been talking about Fotorat yet? No. My association is like 104 years old, but it's not the only one. It's like the art photographers. You have commercial photographers, you have photojournalists, yeah, you have female photographers club, and so on. 1.5 years ago, all of them managed to get together and to create a kind of umbrella organization, which is called Deutscher Fotorat. It's the German Photo Council. And there's a working group, a task force on AI. And I'm very active there. I'm a member. I'm the one that helps to inform what's technically possible right now. And we managed in February, March, that all of the different members drafted up a position paper from their perspective. So of course, the perspective from an art photographer differs from a commercial photographer. And now in April, I'm very proud that as a second step, we managed to get all of this together. Yeah, to see the overlapping points, to agree on certain things, and have published yesterday a position paper for all members to be a visible organization to talk to. Yeah, so the politicians can get advice, yeah, that we identify the problems so we can speed up trying to solve it. Mm-hmm. And this is why I have those insights, yeah, because I have been involved with all of this and talking to all of them.
Is there a future for photography at all? I mean, if you today have a studio and you take portraits of families coming in, and next year they can just take a lousy picture with their phone and say, hey, I want light set from there with a beauty dish at that angle, and I want to wear this in the style of that photographer and that time period. And they suddenly have a brilliant image of themselves, looks like it's taken by David Bailey or someone.
Maybe. Well, I think there is it will get tougher for photographers. It did get tougher already in the past, and it will in the future. But I also see a chance in photographers developing into this new world. And since January, I'm teaching workshops on this in Germany. And the people that come to my workshops are picture editors, are professors of photography, commercial photographers, and teachers that are very influential in drafting up the books you use for classes, art classes. And what I say to all of them, you have a unique knowledge I don't have. And it's about finding out where you can use AI in your workflow and how you can enhance it. And even as somebody who does wedding photography, you can add it to your portfolio. And that is something new. Are you hearing that hammering, or is it just me?
No problem.
I can start again if you want to.
No, that's fine. Go
on. Well, in the past, you photograph like a wedding and put the bride and groom in a park, yeah, in front of some landmark, yeah. And if you are in a certain city, there's 3, 4, 5 places you go, and that's it. But now you can have like a proper portrait lighting and so on, and you can ask your client, where would you like to be? In the Amazonas, on Mars, yeah, Star Wars, or in old Rome, no problem. I can do it for you. And also with product photography, we still need to see how the product looks like. Yeah, this is what I would like to buy. And so you have proper images from all sides. You can generate a little textual inversion and then work with the real picture of a product and create the framing. The model that is wearing it, the place where it's presented. There are possible options to offer more in your portfolio and also to work in a way that you save time and money. And this is just some glimpses. And what I'll say to people in the workshop is you will find out. You know which kind of jobs you have been doing in the past. I'm showing you what's possible with the technology today, and the rest you will figure out yourself. And they do.
There are companies now that do business portraits. They go to a business and they take portraits of everyone, and they take lots of pictures around the location. And then if the business wants like a group photo in front of the entrance, they can just generate a group photo of everyone in front of the entrance, and everyone looks fine. Or in the sofa in some nice place, or they can just make any image the company wants. Problem is, of course, that they won't need the photographer the next time because they can just have these images generated. So
but at the same time, you don't need to give it out. Like what it is, one way is textual inversion, and it's stable diffusion based. Like if I have 20 pictures of you, I can Google them online. If you're famous, it's easier. And then I just crop them to a square format and I upload it and I train the system. The only thing I need to have is a code word. It can be your name or it can just be a fantasy word. It's better when it's a fantasy word. Like as Brunn 75. So, and then this is it. In the text prompt, I then use Thomas Brunn 65. Is lying under the table, is in a boat on a river, is floating in space, and you will appear. It looks like you. But this is what I do in my back end, and you don't need to hand it out to the client. I don't know, it's unwritten, it's new continents, but my position is you need to be aware of what's possible to find out how you can use it to survive this.
Exactly. That's a very good statement. Is there anything you would like to add before we wind up here?
Before we start with drinks. Definitely. I would like to thank the photo community. I would have never ever thought that it will become so big. It's the efforts and help of single people spreading the work, spreading the word, the discussion, translating texts, and just showing that there was a need to do so. I've tried my part to give it a push and to have a sleepless week in using that opportunity to talk about it while people are still interested in it. And I can do this for a couple of days more, but then I'm going to collapse. And I hope the work is done by then. So, thank you for your support. Thank you for your nice messages, comments, and so on. And it also showed that the complexity I wanted to have in a discussion is finally happening. It's not it's good or bad. It's not photography needs to be clean and analog, or I can type in a text, I'm a photographer. This is both nonsense. It is complex, and we can only solve it when we have a communication. Communication is the key. And if communication is not happening, then you get crazy Germans running to your stage and behaving like me.
I have to thank you so much for doing this, for having the courage to going up on that stage, holding your speech, coming to our podcast. I wish you a very peaceful weekend. Thank you very much, Boris.